Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Bang your heads in prayer to the great horn metal god, because we have here Andrew Gilmour, the creative director and artist behind such games as Slain, Back from Hell, Valfaris, and the upcoming Valfaris Mecha Therion, half or perhaps a third of, depending on how you count it, of Steel Mantis Games. Mr. Andrew Gilmour, how are you doing, sir?
Well, pretty good, thank you. Thank you for having me on here.
May I say that is some awesome background right there.
All right, all the concepts and stuff from Slaying Valfaris, some Slaying 2 stuff on there.
Slaying 2.
I haven't got around to
here
yet.
first, ladies and gentlemen. Slaying 2. Okay, that is cool. Having seen how that game ends, I'm interested to see how that one would continue. But anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves. So, how are things going in your neck of the woods, sir?
Well, pretty good.
I can see that.
Yeah, just plodding along, doing Valfaris Mecha most of the time, like all the time, actually.
Indie dev work waits for no man.
Right, is he like playing games or like making video games? Like, what am I going to do today? Those are my two choices. I could go outside as well a bit, I guess.
Yeah, but that would imply going outside.
I've got I do archery as well, so I have to go outside and do
something. Yeah, okay. At least you have an excuse at that point.
Right.
You have archery, I have dogs.
There you go.
I also have minus 20-degree weather Celsius. So
it's lovely here today in the north of Texas. It's I think it's 70s. Nice.
I'm in Quebec City. It is not that.
Oh, nice.
Although I detect by a certain lilt that you're not originally from Texas.
Yeah, originally from England. That's where I was born.
Hell of a trip.
Yeah, I've probably been over here in America probably half my life now, really, working in different studios and places in the video games industry.
Yeah. How long have you been working in the video games industry?
Something like I think I stopped counting around 30. Didn't see any point. Somewhere around there, like 30 years.
So how did you get started working on video games professionally?
Well, I've always, obviously, I got my first computer when I was 10, 12 years old, like a ZX81. I kind of typed in a game from that, and that was awesome. I fooled my parents into thinking some net hack shit was going down, and they panicked. And we weren't even on the internet back then. I'm like, this is awesome. We can do this to people with video games.
Nice.
We can give them these experiences. Isn't it great? So, probably about that was when I was 12. Then going through school, I was getting all the magazines and typing in the old code.
Oh yeah, doing it manually back in the day.
Then taking it to school and putting it on all the computers at school.
Whether they knew of it or not.
So everybody could play it. Yeah, because nobody knew how to use computers there. So removing the shit was impossible. It was awesome.
Oh yeah. Well, I remember the computers at my back in high school when I first encountered the school computers. There was always stuff installed there that had no business being there at all. And
right.
The kind of stuff that I should tell the teachers about this, but I'm not going to.
Yeah, well, yeah. So then I left school when I was about 15. Did some, I worked in jewelry. In a jewelry shop and all that kind of stuff until I was about 19 years old, and then I just sent out all these discs to every company in England. Got a job when I was 19, a small a video. In fact, I got offered 3 jobs, and I took this one at a company called Magitech, which was in the north of England, which spurred off a lot of people from that company. Even one of the directors of EA came from there.
Damn.
So yeah.
So we can blame the British for that.
Yeah, there was quite a lot of British people over here making video games during those times.
Yeah, well, there's an entire people forget this, but the British Isles had a hell of a homegrown video game industry that had their own PC, very PC centered in terms of its game scene back then. So there was a lot of home coders and stuff like that.
Right, yeah. I mean, this was the difference between the two upbringings of these countries as far as video games goes. America is very much into consoles, but Europe, or especially England, was very much more into like home computers and PCs and stuff, like the Atari and the Commodores, the VIC-20s, and like all these things you could actually type on and change.
Yeah, I mean, I know for one thing, my life would not be the same if Palace Software hadn't come up with Barbarian back in the 80s. So, God bless the Queen, man.
I tell you, I freaking love that game. I wanted to remake it so many times. I can remember like playing with my dad, in that game, like both of us on the same keyboard,
Oh yeah. One person has the blast on one end, the other person has the other buttons. Or you just had like those Atari joysticks where you had a mutator button on the side, still controlled with the stick. Yeah. Technically, the Italians beat you to it though. Cryosoft did the Age of Barbarian series.
I actually watched your video of that, when you contacted me. So I'm just like, I'm going to see what this is about. That's pretty cool. Wow, that is some high cheese shit.
I'm a man of simple tastes: boobs, blood, broadswords, battle mechs. So these are the things that are good for me.
Yeah. So there's a Valfaris mech thing is right on.
Oh, that is very, very true. Oh yeah, the announcement for that was like, oh, it's making Valfaris too. I'm flying a freaking mech. Oh, that's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I'm not sure how people are going to react to like the complete genre change, but it's kind of we'd already done like 2 side scrollers. It's like
at a certain point you got to change things up.
Yeah, we're in this for the fun of making video games ourselves. We want to challenge ourselves doing it. Like doing the same shit over and over again is like really no challenge, is it? I mean, it's kind of easy. Sure, it will make you tons of money, and that's great. It gives you more scope to do things that you want to do. But yeah, fuck it. We're just going to do a shoot about this time.
Yeah, every now and then you guys switch things up.
Because mainly that's what we want to do, and that's what we want. If we feel like that we want to play at the moment.
Yeah, next time will be Valfaris the dating sim.
Don't count us out. Do not count us out.
Oh, I will not. Trust me, I do not count you out because I've played. So far I've played all the games that you've put out, Slain and Valfaris. I didn't play the original release of Slain though. I played the Back from Hell edition, but we'll get to that.
Sure,
so you've been like a long time in the British gaming industry. Then you come to the United States, get to Texas. How did you feel about the difference between those 2 industries in terms of their demeanor or how they do things?
It was great because when I first came over here, the first game I worked at was called Game Tech, which was in Florida. Mm-hmm. So we were living the good life in Florida, in the sun, the beaches, making video games, driving around. It was just like nobody's even heard of making video games. It's like, what do you do as for your industry? Oh yeah, I make video games. Oh, you can make video games? Yes.
Yeah. And nowadays people are like, wait, you can make money playing video games?
Now the opposite of it is like, what do you do? I make video games. Oh yeah, my cousin does that.
Well, things change. Yeah. And then you're from Florida then to Texas, which is like, in terms of video game making, id Software is like the number one, noted ones from there. So it's got some pedigree. But
I went from Florida to San Francisco next to work at Cyclone Studios and then 3DO. Where I was like,
so you have a lot of experience in terms of working in this industry. That's for damn sure.
Oh yeah, this is the only industry I've worked in. Pretty much, Yeah. From it's not really first generation, probably like second generation developers. There were people way before me doing it, but yeah, I'm pretty early on down there. I mean, and I still love playing video games. I still love making them as well. This is the thing. Mm. And the video games industry is such a drain. It jades people so fast. You come in like so happy and like this is going to be easy and everything. It's just, oh my god.
Yeah, my brush with the industry is working as a QA tester for an Activision subdivision here in Quebec City.
Oh shit. Yeah.
I love that was immediately your reaction. But yeah, we did QA work on a whole bunch of like Skylanders games and stuff like that, and console ports of various things. And it's like, okay, we know this is broken. We've told you this is broken. Right. You're not going to fix it, are you? No, you're not.
Extended feature.
Yes, the fact that you can leave the map in this area isn't a bug. It's a surprise mechanic.
Yeah, you weren't expecting that, were you, player? See,
No.
got him right there.
I got really good at speedrunning those games. That's for damn sure.
Oh yeah, fucking props to fucking QA, like working with those guys. Like I used to spend like when I was working at Naughty Dog, I used to spend my lunch hours like in the with the QA department watching them fucking speedrun my levels and just being
yeah, and doing it on multiple difficulty levels, one after the other, just blazing your way through it like for 8 hours. Just okay.
And that touch on your shoulder when you're working and the QA comes over and it's just like, hey, Andrew, can I have a word with you? Oh, fuck.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
Yeah, full respect for those guys. Awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, I made some good friends in that particular job. The pay sucked, of course, but what are you going to do?
It's a hard job.
Yeah, it's a hard job. Outside of contract work too. Anyway, enough about my background. You then decided after years now working in the gaming industry, you're now basically running the show with yourself with let's see, a programmer named Thomas Jens and a soundtrack guy by the name of Kurt Victor Bryant. We'll get to him in a second, but
sure.
You guys basically just create your own little indie studio. What brought that about?
Well, I started off doing like slaying. I mean, I knew I wanted to make this game. I wanted to make I started off making this game to do a remake of Ghosts and Goblins. Like I wanted to just do something very simple that was very jump platforming mechanic with like hitting things in the right space, in the right places, and
dying horribly.
And very cruel mechanics as well, like fucking capped jumps and shit where you're going to hit your head before you can get to apex jumps and shit like that. It's just like, no, fuck you for doing that. Yeah, I'm putting those in my game. So slaying is cruel that way, but
I've noticed that. Yes, I've noticed that.
That's what that game is about. I mean, it's meant to be this monotonous slogging through, just like sloshing. There's like things attacking. There's witches and skeletons. It's like, fuck. Chug, chug, chug. Music's just chugging in the background.
Yeah, it's basically a very violent doom metal album.
I mean, I was listening to a lot of doom like metal making that for sure.
Yeah.
I think I lost what the question was there.
Well, basically how you got into working indie with these other two guys, for it.
So started doing that. Released Slay and it kind of failed. My publisher kind of stepped up and we got Thomas to come in, and me and Thomas got to work and fixed it and made it the way that I wanted it to be before it got fucked up.
So what happened exactly with that? That it didn't come out the way you wanted?
Well, the programmer that I was working with, as we released the game, there were tons of bugs in it. He left on the day it was released, so he kind of left me dead in the water with this thing that isn't working and I can't really fix. So, but a bunch of good people came in and helped me to get it to the place where it is today. Whereas I'm pleased myself with where it is today. Oh yeah. And I know it's a cruel kind of a hail back to the 80s coin-eater kind of a game, and that's what I wanted to make.
Yeah, on the plus side, this one doesn't require microtransactions to keep playing, so
right. And that's another very important thing that I wanted in the games I'm making. I just want one game fits all. There's no other things you can buy, no cosmetic-y things you can add, no things you can add to make your game different. You're all playing the damn same game, all right? Done. That's
you get the one game and that's it.
Totally.
Go home.
That's it. Game Nazi in it.
Well, and what a game that you guys made. I mean, just your contribution alone in terms of the artistic vision of this thing is just bravo. I mean, obviously metal is a major influence here, but because the whole thing is like a metal album cover come to life in many ways. But just in terms of just for Slain, the dark fantasy, but it's also really grimy and grotty, gothic. Everything looks like it's gonna give you tetanus or blood poisoning or something. But it's just glorious.
Even down to the pixel art, it's not traditional pixel art. It's kind of all the protocols, all the parameters you must stick in with pixel art, aspects and palettes and all these things. I just said fuck all that shit. And just did whatever I wanted to do. So it's
well, some of the best stuff, some of the best, and some of the worst stuff comes out of that attitude sometimes. So
Right, because these parameters, I've actually worked in those parameters, like when my job was to work in those parameters, and I hated working in them. It was good. It taught you the skills and how to refine and how to think and how to optimize these things. But now I don't have to do that. Why pretend?
Yeah. Well, you have to learn the rules in order to break them properly.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And I really believe in that foundation. You have to go through the disciplines. You have to know how to do everything first.
Yeah.
Then you can't just come in and go here's my artwork. This is the first time doing it. It's the style.
I do a lot of RPG reviews and stuff like that, talking to RPG people, and that is something I see a lot in that industry. There's the RPG and the tabletop RPG industry is very much one where amateur creators coming in there and saying, here's my thing, and oftentimes it's not particularly well play tested, or the artwork is self-done, or it's just like clip art or something like that, or
that's still kind of cool though.
It's still kind of cool, but you have to still have that artistic vision behind it, otherwise it's just a load of crap. But if you do have, it's been said that anything can be art, but you have to make it work. You can't just throw it on the wall and see what sticks.
Well, I mean, I'm more of the opinion that it's up to the individual to make it art. I can call it art if I want to. You can say it's not, it's shit. And I can go, no, it's art.
Oh, no. It can be art. It can be good art, and it can be bad art. It depends on what you're trying to do and how well you accomplished it.
It depends on the perceiver of it.
That too.
And as long as I think, first of all, you are the perceiver of it, the artist that creates it, that kind of soul carries on with the artwork, whether it's a sprite or whether it's an oil painting. That spirit is kind of still in it. You can see the artist within the characters or the game that's created. I mean, there's plenty of artists out there now. You can tell, okay, that's by them.
Oh yeah.
In the pixel area, I would say.
Yeah, well, true. Everybody's got their own particular style that they do their things and that they're comfortable with. That ends up becoming their signature from one game to another, depending on if they keep that particular method of creating. Some people start in pixel art but move to another graphic style later on, and sometimes you can still see that connective tissue between them. But other times they just decide to go completely different based on the technology involved.
Yeah, I mean, it's like music, like metal as well. Look, a lot of bands, some of my favorite bands, just one of my favorite bands, I would say, Catatonia, take for instance. Been listening to them since the 90s. Well, since the 90s. Started off totally death metal. Now Catatonia is still exactly Catatonia. They didn't even sound the same as they did in their death metal days, but it's still fucking Catatonia.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Oh, yes, there we go. That is some good stuff right there.
I deliberately picked this shirt. It was either this shirt or the Tyrant of Death shirt or the Motorhead shirt. I wasn't sure which of the three, but I decided to go with these guys. I figure, I didn't even know you were from Britain. So, this is actually quite apt when you think about it.
There you go.
Yeah. But speaking of music...
I love my Doom for sure. I'm definitely more on the Doom Gothic edge of metal than I am on my power metals as well. Or symphonic. As soon as it starts getting death and thrash are all good as well. And it's just See, I can't really decide.
I'd say that Slain was definitely very much inspired by Doom metal in terms of just the tone and the pacing of it. It's slower paced than Valfaris is, but still hard hitting, especially when you step in one of the traps and just get splushed.
Yeah, I love doing those. I'm not such the evil dungeon master. Those things make me laugh, but in reviews, apparently they're bad. There's one shot kills are just we hate you.
Yes, Lord Thrall hates you.
There we go.
Duh, he's the bad guy.
Right.
Go stick your sword in his guts. That's your job.
Oh well, yes. We'll see some of that soon, I'm pretty sure.
Nice. Yeah. But now, speaking of music, what art is, visuals are one thing, but if you don't have a killer soundtrack to go with it, I mean, it falls flat. But you got Kurt Victor Bryant, formerly of Celtic Frost, to do the soundtracks. explore that?
I was just starting Slane again, and one of his kind of guys like hit me up, say like, "Hey, this is like great stuff. I think you should talk to this guy. He'd really be like fitting for you. Do you know a band called Celtic Frost?" And I'm just like, "What? Celtic fucking Frost? All right, sure, I'll talk to him." And we kind of just got together, hit it off, and he was perfect for Slane for what I needed the music to sound like.
Agreed.
Because I actually work for music as my predominant, I would say, driving inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not really like I don't really draw from like movies or television or other pictures. Like music is that thing that just like creates like all these images.
It's what stimulates your imagination.
Yeah. You can just like when I hear like the bass going, I can see all these fucking ogres walking. There's like, sure, that's this character here. Just all these things like coming together. I'm like, oh, this is the song of this guy. This is the song of this guy. I've been able to put all those things together with Kurt, like doing the music for it, and he kind of like nailed all of the sounds for the visuals.
Yeah. Like, definitely. Yeah. Just going in from that, main menu title song, and then you're going into the Bloodlands and just slashing up witches with a flaming sword, and there's that doom metal going in the background. Beautiful.
Okay, now I love this game. I must play this.
I highly recommend it.
Excellent.
Yeah. And so you're creating all this stuff. So you have a pretty good big variety also of like environments, enemy types, and everything. How do you go about deciding what you're going to be including for any particular level or something in your game, what fits, what doesn't, and deciding what to go in finally?
But this is the advantage of being like a two-man team. Like we're really kind of organic. Like I'll normally come up with a plan of what our roadmap is going to be, and it's never that. But it needs to be there to begin with, if you know what I mean, right?
Oh yeah,
so
yeah.
It gets us going. Okay, we're at least going in this direction, right? Okay, let's go. Right, get the fucking engines going. Go. So then we start going, and like one day we'll get up, and like Thomas will have a great idea, but it will involve changing the entire game because we're a small game company, and we can do like everything really fast.
Yeah, it's the advantage of flexibility over size.
Yeah, with a little pirate ship just sailing around, massive ships, broadsiding them, moving off.
Nice.
I like to think of us as, so we're really adaptable, and this I think is our biggest power. Is we can just wake up tomorrow and change whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like you're spending like millions of dollars on high def Fong textured. I don't even know if I'm using the right terms. I don't care, but anyway, just like these super photorealistic graphics would take millions of dollars to redo.
Yeah, totally.
With pixel art, which my understanding is the way you do it is like creating a low poly 3D model and then pixelating that, or
some of them I do by hand animating, but a lot of them I do by doing all the animation primarily and get all my colors right and everything in 3D, and then taking it into something like a sprite and then pixeling over the top of it. So it's almost like rotoscoping my own artwork.
Yeah. Do you find there's some advantages to that in terms of like the smoothness of the animations, or?
Yeah, for me there is. I wouldn't say it's for everybody though, just because I love doing 3D artwork and love doing 3D low poly models. High poly models is just like kind of getting a chore at that point of like, is anybody really going to see this? Yeah, but anyway, sure, I'll paint some dust.
Yeah, there's actually a bit of a resurgence of the low poly 3D models in games these days, at least in indie scene, obviously. But I guess it's people getting to a certain age where the PS1 era graphics are now the nostalgia age of the day.
That's how that's why we've gone to that. We're doing like low poly for Valfaris Mech, is all like low poly stuff with some pixel stuff in. We kind of really wanted to feel like it's a pixel game in 3D with low poly characters. I mean, it's kind of like a weird genre already. I mean, the genre is already fucked up because it's like a flying mech going through like space castles and fighting aliens and
You're describing the perfect game. All you need to do is put giant heaving bosoms on all the mechs, and you're good.
There we go. Option.
Well, just throwing it out there. Yeah.
So I mean, it's really different as a shoot 'em up as well, because it's more like a side-scrolling shoot 'em up, slash 'em up, and hack and slash 'em up as well.
Yeah.
So it's
you've got the sword and everything as well. Well, sword
right.
along a variety of melee weapons, I imagine.
Oh yeah. There's there'll be a bunch of melee stuff in there, all doing different things, and like different attributes to them to do different area effects and things. I won't give too much away. We'll get into those later.
Yeah. All this, of course, coming straight out of your second game, Valfaris, which is a thematic and story follow-up to Slain in the strangest way possible. Like, okay, screw it. People who want to see the ending, it's on YouTube anyway. It's not technically that important. Your main character in Slain is a guy named Batherin, only he's not a guy, he's a sword. And the guy just thinks people are talking to him when people are just ignoring him completely and just talking to his sword all the time.
Right, yeah. The guardian that he would be, the carrier.
Yeah. The meat, so to speak.
Yeah. The throne, the carriage, the car. Yeah, but Batherin is like Slain is all a story about like Batherin and like how he became to be how he became that sword. And now he's even with Therion right now, who's his brother.
Yeah.
And
which is complicated in a way that even Therion wouldn't explain to him. He's called out and he's like, how is this your... I'll tell you later.
Therion gives no fucks.
Well, no, I mean, when you look like him, generally speaking, you don't have to.
I can get in, get the job done, get me back so I can like drink some beer or something. Even though that's how the Valfaris was going to end with that setup. Yeah,
but yeah, so you move from a dark gothic fantasy with Slain, and the ending of that is basically like, sword floating in space gets picked up by Therion. You want to go on some adventures, bud? Let's do this. And now we're in space opera, gothic dark fantasy, but instead of on a planet, medieval fantasy kind of planet, it's now in a full-on space state, semi-abandoned space station orbiting a dying sun, which is possibly the most metal thing that in existence. I mean, goddamn.
Yes, we I wouldn't say we try to we don't try and be metal.
And yet you are.
It's not meant to be. Like forcing that stuff is like so transparent.
Mm-hmm.
So we just come up with these ideas, and like once these ideas have come out, and it doesn't matter how much work it is to execute these ideas, if they're good ideas, they have to be executed. And when it's like I'm pushing cliches just a little bit further.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say cliches. It's just like a particular aesthetic that that works for this kind of gameplay. Let's face facts. I mean, if you're going to have something where you're running and shooting your way through a massive structure, having it look as badass as possible is not exactly that far of a stretch.
Yeah, I mean, I want it all to look good. So I mean, this is another problem with the game mechanic, and let's say publishers and people that want to sell more of the game is like, let's make an easy mode. Like, don't you want people to see more of your artwork? Wouldn't you like them to play more of the levels and not like just fucking rage quit on the first level? It's like, yes, that would be awesome. But one of the things in old games to me was that kind of like just wanting to see what the next level looked like. Trying to beat that first level or second level or whatever to get to that area where it's like, what is it going to look like? This is going to be awesome. So I'm going to see something new because I've been stuck here for 2 weeks.
Oh, God. I streamed through the entire game of Valfaris from start to finish a while back. And I cannot tell you the number of times I died on one spot and just kept going at it, banging my head against the wall until finally got through. The final boss, there is still footage of me just screaming in joy after finally killing that son of a bitch. And I'm going to cut to it right now. Okay. I'm doing it. Oh, shit. Yeah. Yes! set me free of this madness. Therion, finish him. Fuck. Yes. Hands are fucking trembling, but I got him. Oh, you bastard. That son of a bitch.
Yeah, that was an interesting fight to design. I mean, we know everything has to end in dragons.
Oh yeah, well in this case it ended in freaking not dragons. It ended in King Goddamn Ghidorah.
So it is, yeah. So once we had that idea, like Thomas like designs a lot of the actual fights and the mechanics of the boss fights. And he like just loves doing them. So we end up with like 3 fucking boss fights per level when we only designed it to be 1.
So he's the one I can blame for all this.
For those fights, yeah, he designed that one for sure. I just did the artwork.
It looked good. It kicked my ass, but it looked good kicking my ass. So it was a good combination of the two.
I mean, we both play like everything and check it out and see if it's something that we like. And it's kind of easy to get lost when you're. So I let Thomas do the game design of those boss fights. So then I can play them fresh, like without knowing what the fights are, and then we can like have some kind of like level ground in order to, adjust them. And then of course they go through testing after that as well. So
yeah, so you actually have to make sure that we made this thing as hard as we possibly can. Can someone actually beat this?
It's not it's not about like making it as hard as you possibly can, because that shit's pretty easy to do.
Yeah,
it's still about it's that accomplishment of beating it.
Yeah, so you have to make it hard enough that there is actually some kind of challenge and some kind of value in having defeated it, but you also have to make sure that it's not too challenging, because otherwise no one's ever going to beat it, and it can be cheap if it's not the right kind of difficulty.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's how you have to think about it a bit. But then you're like, you release the game, and some guy, I think like the world record for Valfaris run, like a speed run, is something like 30 minutes at the moment. It's like, what the fuck?
How in Crom's hairy nutsack did he manage to pull that off?
It's like, damn, that's pretty awesome.
Jesus Christ. There are some weird ass mutants out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool though. I mean, I love that in my games as well. They're kind of like governed and thought about a bit as well for like the speed runners, just to which is going to be interesting with the next game, because it's a side scroller, so you can't really go any faster.
Exactly. Yeah, it limits a bit, the potential necessarily for doing that. But I imagine there's probably going to be like no hit runs, or all melee runs or stuff like that. So the people who really want to challenge themselves, they're going to be able to really, really get their thing going right there.
There will be achievements for them, so I hope there are.
Of course. Which I will probably never be able to get, because I can barely beat your games as it is.
Right, barely beating them is good enough.
Yeah, but then you added a new game plus mode to Valfaris, and I'm like, once more to the breach.
Do I want to do that again? That was awesome, but
you did provide a new gun though, so that was cool.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of guns, man, there's a good variety in that game. Like, you took like the 3 basic elemental attacks and magic attacks in Slain, and then just amped it up. I mean, you've got the various pistols that he wields, various swords that he wields, and then you got the big guns, like to the point where
the original designs of those actually had like 5 classes. There was the pistol and sword that we have now. There was destroyer, which we have now, the only 2 that were left. There was also 2 pistols. There was the 2-handed weapon. Ooh. And there was also a staff that he could have that was like more magic-y.
Okay.
But we cut those down to 2 pretty fast. It's like,
yeah, at a certain point, having to, juggle too much stuff while you're juggling a whole bunch of weapons works if it's more of a slower pace kind of experience, like, either turn-based or some kind of RPG or something like that, where, you have the time to really strategize a bit. But if it's like running gun like that, you want to kind of narrow down your options to what you can immediately use as much as possible, I suppose.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that was the thing that we like came to pretty quick, is the fact that we could condense down all of these things maybe into just two forms, like have like more of the magic-y stuff as on the destroyers, or maybe just as a sidearm or on one of the swords.
Yeah.
Just attaching to the three elements that we already have established.
Yeah. Like you have one pistol that's the bishop's finger or whatever it's called. It's this desiccated arm with a finger sticking out that shoots out, if I recall, it shoots out tendrils that suck the life out of nearby enemies.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. You just got to be careful with it, because if you miss, it sucks the life out of you. So, Yeah. And plus, all these weapons can then be upgraded as you go along, which comes with an interesting little mechanic, the way you did with the checkpoints. Is, again, how did you decide around balancing that particular aspect?
Well, that was another Thomas one, that he wanted to do that, and I was like kind of against it. And we had a bit of a fight, as we always do, and we decided we'd try it out and see how it worked, and it worked out pretty good. So we went with it, and the risk reward situation there is like kind of cool. I mean,
for those who haven't played, basically, as you collect these things called resurrection idols, as you play around the game, you spend those in order to activate checkpoints, so you can come back to a later point when you die. However, you can not activate those and just keep going, and add the more resurrection idols you have, the longer your health bar is. So, there's that, balancing act. And you can then at the end of the level, spend any resurrection idols you have to gain extra upgrade materials. So not only will you be able to have, a bit more survivability at the risk of getting sent back even further when you die, but you also gain more ability to jack up your firepower.
Yeah, and that mechanic will continue through to Valfaris Mecha as well.
Nice.
So we've still got in there. This time you destroy the checkpoints and like smash them up, and that says like pretty much, fuck you, give me another health point.
Oh, that's even nastier, because at least with the other one you could use those resurrection, you get sent back. Okay, I've had it, I'm just going to use them later on, if you get too frustrated. But here, if you just smash them, do they stay smashed after you die, or
no.
Okay, so there's still a chance to okay, I've had too much, I'm gonna play nice for a little bit.
Oh no, yeah, they're smashed after you're dead. Sorry, if you smash one, and that gives you an extra health point, you go to the next one.
Okay, so the ones you destroy are still destroyed. There's no coming back from that,
unless you die.
Unless you die, in this case, you go back to the last one you had.
Right.
But then what I mean is, let's just say, okay, I've smashed 3 up to this point. I die, I go back to here. Will I be able to go back to this one and like activate it instead of smashing it? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So because smashing them and having them never respawn again, that would be too mean.
Hold on a second. I think you're onto something here.
Please don't. Yeah. So
no. Yes, obviously that would be just a fucking dickish thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm sure you'll find other ways to dick around with the player in more fair ways.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So in terms of also there's the continuing storyline, of course, from the first Valfaris, and elements of Slain as well. Mm-hmm. You're saying there's a Slain 2 eventually coming that I think will pick up from with there, you think, or is that going to be continuing also with Valfaris, or like parallel things, or?
Well, there definitely will be Slain 2. I'm not sure how I'm going to do it yet.
So it's more like a concept idea versus something that's actually being.
Yeah, I've got a lot of visuals for it and concepts, but I spend a lot of my time at the moment in VR. So I might do something in VR next.
That'd be interesting. I mean, I'd have to get myself a VR rig first, but that would definitely be interesting. It'd be kind of interesting to see your particular art style done in virtual reality. That'd be interesting to see how it would work out.
Yeah, I mean, I've already tested it, and being in those rooms, like stood with those 3D bosses that you're fighting, is pretty scary.
I can imagine. Yeah. Oh God, imagine. Yeah. Imagine like a VR Valfaris Mecha. That'd be something.
Well, all these things are on the plate.
Well, I look forward to see what comes out of the oven. But
we'll see. But then, I'm spending a lot of time in VR at the moment. I'd really like to create something in there. I'd probably obviously within the Stain and Valfaris universe, or maybe not. Who knows?
Yeah. Speaking of that universe, how did you go about like creating like the background and the world building for that? All the different concepts running through Slane and Valfaris, and now into Valfaris, Mecha Therion. The way the world is constructed, the characters and all that stuff. How do you guys come up with the storyline and NPCs and stuff like that?
Well, I just make them up.
Yeah, that works.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's like, once again, me and Thomas are making these games, so we enjoy making them and we have fun making them. So we just do things that we think are fun. Sometimes switching to these characters or designing these characters, or put them here and calling them this and giving them this kind of attack is like, hey, that's gonna be fun.
Yeah, it's nothing more complicated than that, really.
Yeah, the players are gonna love this.
Is there anything from the games that you wished you could have put in there in retrospect, or that you had to cut out and you kind of wish that you could have kept in?
Yeah, I mean, but and this is the funny thing about Valfaris Mech, is that it was meant to be like a kind of shortish interlude game from Valfaris, because we wanted to do that in Valfaris, but it was just like making that many style of games at once, like doing, is always a recipe for destruction right there.
Oh, yeah.
I did to like, not put that in, because in the original Valfaris, Therion had a jetpack as well, so we could like zoom around. And, like, so I kind of wanted to do that. So at the end of Valfaris, I was just like, do you just want to make a game just doing that? It might be fun.
No,
like with a massive looking mech. Like, so, kind of like the mech area in Valfaris as well. Like when you got to like ride that mech like through and just like destroy everything.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
It's a little bit of break, a little bit of a reward of here you go. But if I get money, you can still die.
Oh yes, you can. Trust me, I know. Especially if you don't aim that big plasma cannon properly. Just like, okay, gotta aim it. Shit. Oh, it's coming up.
Right. I just like jump in and just crush them.
Those mines do not forgive. Yeah. Although I will say, definitely you created the kind of game that, in spite of how difficult it can be, you definitely made something that's worth to keep playing just to see what comes next.
Well, thank you. I think, like I was saying before, that is like, one of the driving forces for me, at least in video games, is like what comes next.
Oh yeah. Like I remember the boss fight against the Hive Queen in Valfaris, or you're thinking it's the boss Hive Queen, right, and instead it's the mech that just comes from behind, kills her, and now you're fighting this giant robot, which self-destructs at the end and tries to take you along with it. Thank you a lot for that, by the way.
That was Thomas as well.
Thomas. The number of times that thing got me.
Right, did you get him on next?
Yeah, well, you do get to jump in on one of those at least, and get some payback. Yeah,
that was like me and Thomas the conversation of like, I just built the Hive Queen, and I'm like, yeah, this is going to be awesome. It's going to be, and then what's going to happen is like this thing's going to burst through, and the Hive Queen's going to be gone. And it's like, but you just did all this artwork. And I'm like, yeah, now I'm exploding it and destroying it.
Well, yeah, the thing is, you couldn't, go half-assed on the Hive Queen in that case, because it has to look like it's actually going to be the boss fight before you pull the rug right under the player and introduce the exterminator mech. So if it had been done with less effort, it wouldn't have worked.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I liked it. I think I have sort of a concept of her around it somewhere. I know. I changed all concepts, that's right.
Yeah. Well, I can see some, bloody swords. I think I recognize that wolf there in the background, just above your head.
Well, there's always wolves in my shit.
Oh, I've noticed that. Yeah, the bit in Slain where you're being chased by the wolf spirit after being transformed into a wolf yourself in order to prove your worthiness to the pack, that's a standout right there.
Yeah. That was a compromise. It came out like pretty good, but it was a compromise from actually changing into a werewolf and doing like entire sections of the game as a wolf. But once again, like trying to, an indie game development tip right here, don't try and do 2 games at once. You almost fail.
Yeah. there are certain games that you can have like different elements. You know, XCOM is the big example of that, where you have the turn-based stuff and the geo stuff, and the like that works. But those, you know, mesh very well because you're not doing them at the same time, really.
Yeah, I mean, there are examples of things that you can do like that, like Mario Party, for instance, which is just a bunch of mini games, but that's what the game is designed to do.
Exactly. Yeah, the game is go forth and complete mini games.
So yeah, so I kind of like to keep, you know, to the same game as much as possible.
Yeah,
with kind of a little switch in between of, you know, like the Wolf Run, or in Valfaris, it's like getting in the mech, and there will be the same in Valfaris Mecha as well, but it's going to be a bit different.
Nice. Well, yeah,
so
you do always have to keep, you know, changing things up a little bit, but retaining the same core mechanics throughout.
Well, yeah, I want like people that you know, play Valfaris Mecha, for instance, who have also played Slain, to go like, I've fought this before. I know what these guys are up to. You know, have some kind of like you know, reward for those guys for playing those games prior to it. You know, if you come in straight into it and having not played the first two games, then maybe you know, you're gonna have a hard time. Anyone who's played Slain or Valfaris before is gonna be, yeah, I know this fucker. Oh my god, this took me like so long to beat, but you know, I beat it like this, down one first turn.
Nice.
So you know, we think about that as well. Like I say, I do want to reward those players who know these game mechanics.
Yeah, well, yeah, you can tell there's a lot of thought that goes into this stuff. Like things are well balanced, I guess, is the way, you know, they're balanced on the edge of a razor, but they're very well balanced.
Well, yeah, thank you. I mean, that's obviously the hardest thing to achieve, but you know, it's only kind of achievable to. It's only well balanced to certain people, let's say.
Yeah, well, you know,
it's like Valfaris and like Slain reviews are just like, masterpiece, best game ever, piece of shit, doesn't work. Reviews next to each other.
You generally know you've done very well for yourself when those are the reviews you got, because you know there's nothing middle of the ground going
right, totally.
Yeah, it's either love it or hate it, and there, you know, you've done something at least, you know, approaching excellence.
Right, I mean, and we do look at those reviews, and some of them are fucking amazing. Like some of the bad ones that we get are just like, oh my god, this is incredible. the amount of time that's somebody concentrated into this bad review, and it's really good because it's so bad.
I know. So there's an art in and of itself to the bad review.
Oh yeah, some of the. I mean, I've seen masterpieces in Valfaris and Slain. We're just like, oh my god, this is amazing.
Like this person missed the plot so hard.
Right. But it's funny, you know.
Or like, you know, someone who's reviewing game, this game sucks because I couldn't do this whole time, and it would have been perfect if I could have done this one mechanic. And it's like, you didn't look at the tutorial, did you?
In my mind, it's more like, you know, you go into a drum and bass club, like in England, and it's playing drum and bass everywhere, and all of a sudden, like, fucking mayhem comes on. It's like, what the fuck is this? Oh my god! Ah! And then everyone kind of gets into it a bit, and other people are just like, no, this is like, this is like, no.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the case. This is the case for a lot of, you know, games and shows and music or anything else. If you make something that you make for yourself that you like, you're going to attract people who like the same things.
That's what I hope, that I'm providing something for people who like the same things that I do. And most of the things, you know, that I really do like aren't very like super mainstream. So
well, you're welcome.
Giving entertainment to not the mainstream.
Well, as it turns out, not the mainstream includes a pretty good amount of people.
Yeah, everybody besides about 4 people that are just banging on all the time.
Oh yeah. Well, you know, I mean, you have had your brushes with mainstream too. I'm looking at an image right here of a lady at the Game Awards from 2019 carrying the Bringer of Mayhem live. Live. I mean, that was a pretty cool little promo right there. Oh, you have it with you?
I have that right over there.
Oh man, that thing. Just to show, it does show the scale of those weapons that you have in that game. It's like, oh, that doesn't look too big. Oh, okay, yeah, those things are massive.
If you give me a pause, I'll go get another beer and bring it back.
Go right ahead.
A few moments later.
Oh, look at that thing. Oh, that is one of the perks of video game development there. Oh, that is a thing of beauty. Oh, Jesus. Not sure whether it's about to shoot me or bite me.
Right.
Well, no, the answer to that is yes. The answer is yes. I gotta say, that is one of the weapons I fully upgraded when I was playing Slain. It's just I was playing Valfaris. I just blasted my way through everything.
Oh, yeah. That is like great destruction against like anything that's kind of has electronics in it.
Mm-hmm. Electronics,
excuse me,
biomechanicals, little old ladies trying to cross the street, everything just gets melted.
Yeah, that was my publisher built that. So I take it around the shows. And,
yeah, that was for Valfaris. It was Big Sugar, yes.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Are they also doing Mecha Therion?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Those guys are great.
Nice. Well, yeah.
For ages now.
They got good taste in gaming and gaming developers. That's for sure.
I think they really are like an actual indie game publisher. You know, publishing real indie games.
Yeah, they also did another game that I played, Unto the End. It's that kind of like cell sort of cell shaded, kind of like sword fighting meets Another World kind of game.
Right, yeah, kind of like polygonal. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good. Also hard as balls, but
right, yeah, not bad. I mean, yeah, Stephen, who's like made that game, he was pretty cool. Haven't spoken to him for ages though, so I haven't seen him since the game was released. Which,
yeah, I should really get back to that one. I tried it out, played it for a bit, and then got distracted by other stuff. I haven't gotten back to it, so I should really put some time in and try and finish that one. I mean, I can say the same about 3/4 of everything I got in my Steam library, for crying out loud.
See, I'm pretty good at like I probably play like 3 or 4 games a year, just get like really into them. But some of the games that I play, like kind of, I think it's over here on Steam. I have like 2,000 hours in Elite Dangerous, flying spaceships in VR.
I mean, it's time well spent. Yeah,
it was fun.
Oh yeah, like that's one of the reasons I started streaming on Twitch in the first place, is just to have an excuse to go through my Steam library and just finish games. Like spend a good 8 to 10 hours on Sunday night, just powering my way through something, just trying to get through it, and I still haven't.
Well, now you're doing your streams.
Yeah, well, it keeps me busy. Plus, I work nights, so I need something to keep me up all on Sunday before I head back to work on Monday.
Shit, what do you do?
Oh, I clean places. I got a contract over doing commercial and government buildings over here in Quebec.
Nice.
Yeah, well, right after the holidays, it's nice and calm. The worst you're going to deal with is like security walking around, treading crap on the floors. So there's barely anybody. So it's a nice cushy job around this time of year. Exactly. On the other hand, sometimes the years get real busy real quick, so you gotta keeps you on your toes too, and even better, keeps me in shape, so I could eat pretty much all the crap I want and don't have to worry about gaining weight. So the advantages of blue collar work.
Yeah, I haven't been to Quebec, or I just know from Letterkenny. I just want to do all the pronunciations of Quebec now, but
ça ressemble pas nécessairement à Letterkenny, ok? C'est différent. Letterkenny, the official ambassador of French Canada. Oh god. It's either that or people think we're like South Park, so
I've had some I guess the only place I've really been there is Toronto, and that was like amazing.
Yeah, Toronto's pretty cool. Everybody else thinks they're assholes, but they think that of themselves too, so it's okay.
I actually went there like when I was working at Game Tech. Game Tech sent me there to learn Alias, which was like SGIs. I don't know if you know these machines.
Like vaguely.
Like silicon graphics machines, like back in the old days of like the 90s.
Oh
these
boy.
were the most high-powered graphical machines like ever. I mean,
and nowadays I could probably do the same thing on my phone.
Yeah, totally. No, you could even say that, these were like, $250,000 machines and shit. So I trained on those when I was working at Game Tech. It was my first kind of introduction into 3D.
Mm-hmm.
So they sent us to Toronto for a week to like train, like at the Alias school there. Oh,
yeah.
it was so awesome. I mean, we did like classes in like 2 hours and just fucked off to the bars. It was so good.
Yeah. Yeah, Ontario is a good province. I spent time there when I was doing training when I was a signals operator in the Army. They have the communications electronics school there in Kingston, Ontario.
Well,
And yeah. Oh, it's a nice town. If they hadn't sent me to Quebec, I would have stayed there.
yeah.
But I'm kind of glad they sent me to Quebec here. I met my future wife here, so I got no problems there. It's cold as balls, but that's Canada for you.
Well, yeah, I don't mind it. I mean, I lived in Wisconsin for a while. I know it's not Canada, but
it's depending on the season, it can get comparable to Wisconsin.
it was like fucking hell. The first time I went there for my interview, I was working for my interview at Frozen Cove Base. I walked across like this bridge across the river. And it was like minus 25, and any bit of skin like exposed was just like.
Oh yeah. Celsius or Fahrenheit?
That would be Celsius there. It was
okay, yeah. So cold. Proper temperatures, yeah.
Right. And then everybody's like, the roads are just completely made of ice. Everything's made of ice. I'm just like, what is going on here?
So Wisconsin is very much the Quebec of the United States.
Apparently, it was the kind of like a freak thing that rarely happens, but that's how I thought it always was. And like, all that snow was beautiful during the summers, like going to the lakes and camping and shit was nice.
Yeah, it sounds like Quebec. Basically, you had a taste of it, just a little bit further south.
Now I live in the desert.
I suppose that has its advantages too. You don't have to shovel snow at any point unless you feel like it.
Well, this is like the high plains, so it's we get some good snow. One of the amazing things I've seen here is a frost storm. They just filled up all the trees with ice until they fell over.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Back here in '97, we had the Great Ice Storm, and
that was crazy.
Oh yeah. Like a third of the entire province was blacked out. Like, I was living in the countryside at that point, rural kind of town. So the sump pump in the basement stops working because the power's out, and the water level starts rising. And all night long, half the family's trying to get a generator going and getting it fueled up. The other half is just paling water outside as quickly as possible to keep the basement from flooding. So we're just throwing water onto ice, and it is just, everything looks like Elsa shat all over everything. It's just absolute. The entire world was freezer burned. It was just unbelievable. There was
I've never seen that.
Trees knocked over, power lines knocked over. Everything's a goddamn skating rink.
I think the thing about it when it happened here was it was a mist that came in, and it was like really slow, and it was just silent, and all you could hear was like trees going like.
Oh man, that's full on John Carpenter mode right there.
And it was just watching it build up. There was no wind; it was just building up on the mist.
Oh man, that's creepy as hell. Oh jeez.
And the branches that were coming down because they were like covered in ice, were just sticking into the ground like a few inches.
It sounds like that. You wish you had the Valfaris flamethrower just to take care of it quickly.
Oh, don't worry. It's logged in inspiration. There will be something like that in the game.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Well, that's how art works. You get your inspirations and you run with them.
Right. Another important thing.
Yeah.
Don't get your reference from the internet.
Exactly. Because, at that point, everybody else has gotten it too.
Yeah. This is experiment of like, ask any artist on the internet to fucking draw a picture of a church.
And what happens? They all look like the same one that they reference off of Google image search.
On their first or two or threes. Because nobody actually has it. Like, nobody actually paints their experience from what they felt maybe in a church. Mine would just be like a corner, like a brick. That time I passed out in time when I got into the church and drank all that wine.
Oh, boy.
Church.
Oh, God.
All the time that back in the old days, they actually gave me sanctuary when I was out on the town drinking, and I'm like, fuck it, I can't make it home. I'm going to sleep in the church. Slept in the church. Doors open.
I mean, yeah.
Sanctuary, like it's meant to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Not your first internet looker.
There you go. Like, you start from there. You start like passed out, drunk in a church, and now you build giant space cathedrals with death god statues in them. I mean, it's a perfect one-to-one correlation.
It's all integral.
Exactly.
I mean, I wasn't using the church as a representation of any kind of religion. It could have been anything. It could have been a blowfish.
Yeah. Well, certain images bring certain emotions or bring certain concepts to mind, regardless of the intent behind them. So you basically just use what works for that.
And that's art. And
exactly.
The important part about art there is trying to relay it to people, whether it's in story, whether it's in theatre, whether it's in film, whether it's in video games, is trying to relay those feelings and thoughts that you had to other people because you thought they were cool.
And that is a wonderful way to send this off. So is there anything else you like to mention? Like, how can people reach you and find out more about both your previous and future games?
Well, I was going to say you can follow me on Twitter, but that's probably not a good idea because I do go off a bit there on like metal pretty hard sometimes.
You say that as if it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
Look who you're asked talking to. I have legalized drugs and murder written on my chest right now.
It was way back in my Twitter career, and Rob Zombie came out and started like toting a baby metal. So I'm just like, okay, I'm going to name 100 bands better than baby metal. I lost about 1,000 followers that day.
Ooh. Sacrifices need to be made sometimes.
Right, so I'm saying.
Yeah. So yeah, on Twitter you are at Mr. A Wolf.
That's right.
Andrew Gilmour, the one, the only, the Andrew.
Thanks.
Well, anyway, I would very much like to thank you for coming on here. This has been great. Getting to pick your brain about gaming and art and all this stuff. This is why I started doing interviews with people, because the people who make the stuff I like are generally pretty interesting people in their own regard. So
well, thank you. Are you saying I'm interested? Whatever. But yeah.
Or at least they have interesting things to talk about, that's for sure.
Like I said, I love talking about video games. I love talking about art, like the video games industry and all that kind of stuff.
And I like talking to people who do.
Yeah, we could get deep into if I can make it all bad and talk shit about or whatever it is, but it's actually kind of
there's enough people who do that. Like, I have yet to do a review of anything I don't like on my shows and any of the videos I make, simply because I don't want to actually spend the time with something I don't like in order to be able to properly review it. So I'm just not gonna bother. I'm just gonna review things I actually enjoy.
That seems to make it fucking easy.
Yeah, it does. At least it makes it a lot more fun, that's for sure.
It's kind of like references in England. I can't get a reference from a company. If they won't give you a reference, then that's bad. That's it. If they give you a good reference, it's a nice piece of paper, your CV,
Yeah.
Just not talking about them is bad.
Exactly. I am the chief repository of references of the internet. All right. Well, thank you very much for coming on. It's been a blast.
I've enjoyed my beers. Thank you.
And I've enjoyed you enjoying your beers. In any case, thank you all for watching. I will see you next time. Go buy this guy's games.
Have fun.